Well, that was a good half an hour or so thrash to get all the crap unbolted off of this frame. So this is the motor mount that was on there. It's like crudely welded together. It's not even square stock. It's like two pieces of U-channel welded together to try to make square stock. Two bolts holding this plate, which had the hood on it, mounted to these. There was only two bolts holding the whole engine on. This thing was just, I mean, the bolts were all weird. They had carriage bolts with spacers stuck on them instead of a regular bolt. I mean, this thing looked like an 8-year-old put it together with crap that he dug out of the ground. And maybe he did. And if it was an 8-year-old, I'm impressed. But if it was an adult that put this together last time, that's pretty pitiful. But got all the stuff taken off the frame that doesn't need to be there. I got the steering fixed for now. Somehow the center sector gear centered over and spun in the opposite direction. It might have been because it's kind of loose. You can actually slide the steering column forward and backward a little bit. I think that takes up the slack in the gears. But I mean, there's a lot of play in the front end. You can see the axle walks quite a bit, and there's a lot of play in the steering linkage. But I mean, it's from 1959 or 1960. It's bound to have a little wear in it. This is why I like these things. They're just so stinking simple. There's nothing to them. You got, you know, your turning brakes on the back of the transmission here. These are your turning brakes. And it's just a brake drum that goes down off the back of the axle, right on the hub. You got one belt for your drive going up to the variator and back to the main drive pulley on the engine. There's a second belt that goes around the outside pulley here that's just down on the bottom right now. And then you have a third belt that goes up to the motor. This adjusts your variator for different speed. And it just has a sheave pulley that moves back and forth on there, and it changes the diameter of those two pulleys when the engine's running to change the speed of the transmission. Other than that, you got your forward and reverse. Forward is forward, reverse is reverse. All mechanical linkage, all adjustable. This thing is great. And I mean, these wheels, for those of you if you've never looked at a David Bradley, these are actually two-piece wheels. And they bolt onto a hub that's on the tractor. So you can take the whole hub off the tractor with the wheel, or you can just take the wheel off of the hub. Makes changing tires really easily. You just unbolt the two halves of the rim, take the old tire and the tube out, slide a new tire and tube assembly on there, push the valve stem through the rim, bolt the wheel back together, and then fill it up. Super simple. I mean, these things were made so well. Utilitarian, simple. So I'm gonna see which engine fits better on this, whether I end up putting the 8 horse or the 6.5 horse on there. The 6.5 horse is probably more original to what this would have had on it, so I may end up going with that. I don't know if that engine runs yet, and it doesn't have an air cleaner, so I may end up putting the 8 horse on in the meantime. I don't know. But I also have dual ags that I'm going to put on the back of this. The ones that I had on my GT18 last year at Plow Day that were also previously on my AR14 that I built a couple of years ago. Those are going to go on this because I don't have any 6-12 ags, so I'm going to put dual 5-12 ags with wheel spacers and double wheel weights on it. Make the rear end of this thing a little bit wider. It's going to look really cool. And then I'm not sure what I'm going to put on the front yet, if I'm going to put tri-ribs or like a trailer tire style tire on it or something like that. Haven't quite figured that out yet. I do have some other kind of odd off-brand tires that are like big balloon tires that I could stick on the front of this too, but I'm not exactly sure. So I'm going to start looking around at what I can put on this thing, and we'll get back to the video. So I got to tell you, it has probably been 20 years since I've worked on a Briggs & Stratton. I need to take the recoil assembly off because it has no spark, and I think I have to take the flywheel off to get to the, I don't think this has points, it has some kind of a magnet or something under the flywheel, but It's been so long since I worked on one of these. I'm gonna see if I can get it to work just by sanding the contacts, which is what my dad used to always do on the old Briggs & Stratton that we had on our go-kart, which was not dissimilar to this engine. This is, again, I think a 6.5 horse Briggs & Stratton, old, from the 60s probably. Not quite as old as what would have come on this tractor, but it's pretty old. And the recoil and everything works good. The gas tank is clean and dry, which is always a good sign. I took the cold weather like shield off of this thing that shields the muffler from the intake. I don't think I'm going to need that on this particular motor. So let's get this thing off and see if I can get spark out of it. I don't know if the plug's any good. I'm not sure I have a plug for this. I think it's like a J8C Champion. I might have some on the wall in my garage, but let's get this guy off. Oh man, that brings back memories. Am I missing a bolt here? Oh, there we go. Oh yeah, look at that. Well, that looks fairly good. Maybe not. This looks a little janky. The spark plug wire is just wrapped around the terminal here. I don't think that's correct. But what I recall from being a kid is my dad used to sand down the magnets on this thing to see if it would clean up the contacts enough to get spark, because when these pass under this coil, it gives it spark. Now I do have a brand new coil, because I bought, oh that's weird. Is that the governor? Wow, it's an air vane governor, like the wind from the flywheel pushes this back and gives it more. I've never seen that before. Again, I never worked on Briggs very much, but pretty interesting. I have another coil that might fit on this that I got from the guy that I bought my 8-horse engine from. And I'm gonna see first if I can sand this guy, sand underneath that coil, adjust the gap a little bit and see if I can get it to work. So stay tuned, I'll be right back.
Steam rising off engines back. Turn that wrench, hear the click and crack. Sweat and oil bond like brothers. Taming wild machines like no others. Cranking loaded sports, fixing antique rides. Grime and grease, well we confide. Give new life to rallies old. Born again from stories untold. Wander off in the twilight dark. Fires of creation leave their mark. Belts tighten with a sturdy hand. Roaring life from desolate land. Steam rising off engines back. Turn that wrench, hear the click and crack.
So I sanded the points, I gapped the points, I sanded down the magnet, I sanded the bottom of the coil. It's still, I can't see spark with my spark tester, but I'm hoping that maybe it just does have spark and it's a little bit weak. It has plenty of compression, so I'm gonna try just taking a step of faith and putting some carb cleaner in it, see if I can get it to fire. And if not, maybe I'll just throw the 8-horse in it for now, because I really don't know much about Briggs. Should check the oil before I start it though. Yeah, it's got oil. All right, let's just see if it pops off at all. I really didn't think it was going to, but it runs. That's amazing. I'm so happy. Let's see if I can keep it running. flooded it. Well, that's great. I was not expecting that at all because I could not see any spark on this thing. It runs really good. Well, that's fantastic. I gotta find an air cleaner for it, and I forgot to put the screen back on, so I gotta take the recoil assembly back off, but I had no idea this thing was gonna run. That makes me really happy. Well, now I put some gas in it and the bowl leaks like a sieve, which I kind of expected, but let's see if I can get it to run on gas and if I can drive it. I have no idea how well the gas is going to get down to the carb or if the float's stuck or anything. Just like a Briggs, it leaks and it floods. Well, it runs. The drive belt is way too long, so I can't get it to engage, and I'm not sure I have another one. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Runs okay. I mean, it runs like a Briggs. To be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of Briggs. I'm gonna have to change the fuel bowl because that leaks like a sieve really bad. All this stuff works. Like the reverse belt is really chewed up, but all that stuff works. The forward seemed to want to engage, but because this belt is slipping too much, I couldn't get it to actually engage. And I can't get the variator to come back far enough to actually tighten this belt up enough. So I either need a bigger pulley on the motor, which I have the one on that motor that's not much bigger, but it might work, or I could potentially use a 5/8 belt instead of a 1/2-inch belt. But right now, I'm going to try to take the drive belt back off the engine, which is not hard. I couldn't get this pulley off, so I got to try to get that pulley off. Let me work on that and see if I can get that fixed.
Bond like brothers, taming wild machines like no others. Cranking all his force, fixing antique rides. Grind and grease where we confide. Give new life to revelings old. Born again from stories untold.
Well, I got the dual ags on the back of this thing now, and it looks pretty stinking cool. I got this engine running pretty good as well, but I don't have a pulley for it. The red motor runs okay. I can't get it to idle properly, so I got to work on that one a little bit. And it has a pulley on it, but it's the wrong diameter and it's stuck. So, see if I can get this thing to start again. I just had it running a second ago. it doesn't run perfect. It's got a few little odd things, but it runs pretty good. Now this motor doesn't have adjustable throttle speed. I don't know what this came off of. Maybe it came off like an old 80s snowblower or a log splitter or something. I don't know, but the carburetor's been replaced. It's a Chinese one. The threads on it aren't great, so I've gotten it working as best I can for now. The throttle on this is just basically a screw. You crank it in and it pushes up on the throttle and it changes it by a couple hundred RPM. But I mean, it has a place to put a cable, but this little piece that moves the throttle back and forth is just locked in place. And to be honest, it doesn't even go up to the throttle on the carburetor. There's an arm coming off the governor on this thing that goes directly up to the throttle linkage on the carburetor, so it's just one speed. And it won't idle any lower than it is. I got the idle screw all the way backed out. So this thing seems to just want to run at like whatever RPM that is, 2300 RPM, 2000 RPM, I don't know. So I don't know if this is the correct motor. The 6.5 horse is definitely a better option for this. It's smaller, the throttle and everything works on it, and it does run fairly well, but I gotta get that pulley off because it's the wrong size and the sheave is in the wrong location. So I can't line up the belt correctly for the drive system on this thing. But, you know, for an afternoon's worth of work, it's not really too bad. I got a motor mounted, I got it running. I took all the crap off the frame that I don't need. I got the ags mounted on the back of this thing. So I'm gonna try to stick the hood back on it. The only crappy thing is there's supposed to be a bracket up here that the hood rests on and latches shut, and I don't have that. And the piece that catches on the bottom of the hood is all bent up and flattened, so I'll just put it back on for now, so at least I can close the hood and stuff. But you know, it's one step closer. Like I said, I got to get the 6.5 horse pulley off. I might have to drill that set screw out of that thing all the way down into the key and just slide it off. It is what it is. Or I might be able to just buy a 1-inch ID pulley for this at Tractor Supply. So that motor runs really good. I was able to get the pulley off. I had to kind of crack it a little bit and hit it with a hammer and drill down through the set screw, but I got it off. This guy runs really good. I was just gonna stick the nose on, but I forgot. I gotta shove the gas tank that way a little bit. And yeah, the glass bowl on this thing leaks really bad, so I'm gonna have to replace that. I put a new one on the 8 horse. I may take that one off of that motor and put it on this motor, or I may just get another one because they're pretty cheap. But that's a bonus. I'm getting close. I got to get the correct oil bath air cleaner for this, the nice narrow one that's kind of tall. Otherwise it's not going to fit under the hood because the hood's not very wide on this thing. And well, the original air cleaners for these actually swung out, so it had like a kind of an S-bend neck on it, so you could either swing it outside the engine when it was warm weather or underneath the hood when it was cold weather. You're never going to find those. The other thing I could try to do is there was a David Bradley 725 one on eBay that has like a snorkel that comes out the front of it, so but I don't think that one would fit either. So I got to shove the tank over, put the hood on, and then I'll probably end this video. But I said I was going to do that a minute ago. All right, this is really going to be the end of the video today. So I swapped the red motor back in. It runs pretty good now. I got it tweaked enough to get it to stay running. And I put the grill back on, but it's still not aligned correctly. It hits where the air filter needs to go, and it doesn't quite close all the way. So it's all kind of wonky. I don't know if this originally had a spacer to shove the grill forward more. I kind of think it didn't, but I might have to make one just to shove it forward like maybe 1.5 inches, so that the whole entire thing can shove forward and clear the engine better. And again, the latch that's on top of the motor that's supposed to, or the latch that's supposed to hold the hood and the grill down is all busted up, so I don't have that. I'm gonna do something different. I was actually thinking about using like rubber straps from a Jeep hood to hold this thing down. Maybe make a bracket, a T that comes up off the bottom right behind the clutch and goes up to the bottom of it, and then have straps that come off of that or something, but I haven't quite figured that out yet. It's getting there though. Definitely looks wicked cool with the dual ags on the back. I think I might put some wide front tires on it, or wider. Those are 480 by 8s. I think I want something a little bit wider, but I'm not sure. But it just has such a cool look. And the more I look at it, I almost don't want to paint it blue. Much as I love the blue one, I don't know. It's definitely the wrong shade of gold. It's pretty ugly gold. It's missing the belt guard. There's supposed to be a cover that covers over all those pulleys too, but anyway, I really am going to end the video now. This is going to be way longer than I wanted it to, but it's pretty cool. I got quite a bit done on this thing today. It's pretty much what I've been working on all afternoon, and yeah, it's going to be cool. It is going to be so cool. I can't wait to drive this thing. I just need a pulley, and then I can at least drive it a little bit and see how it goes, and then, you know, tweak what I need to tweak to make everything else work properly. But it looks pretty cool. I mean, it's almost like, it almost looks like it was meant to be golden red. If I painted the front wheels red instead of being blue, it would almost look like it's supposed to be like that. But anyway, Cranky Motorsports out.